Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for being with us this evening for this inaugural fireside chat of our global conversations. As obviously you're all here with great anticipation to hear the wisdom of Sadani. But you're not here to really hear me talk, but I just want to, for those that actually don't know much about the Paddy Ashdown Forum, what I'd like to do is just spend a couple of minutes telling you about the Paddy Ashdown Forum, our values, what we're about, and what we're doing. And then I'll hand over to Mimi. So when Robert Woodthorpe Brown, I'm sure is a name very familiar to all of you. And when Robert and I founded the Paddy Ashdown Forum, it was on the platform of two papers I'd written the year before: The 5 Essential Steps to Sustainable Viability and Sustainable DNA for Policymakers. It was written from a lifetime of joining things up and looking at the relationship between things rather than things themselves. And that's meant that I have butted heads with conventional wisdom that breaks things down and breaks things up for a long time. And people have often said that what does tackling complexity through systems thinking have to do with Paddy Ashdown? Well, anyone who knew Paddy will attest that he was a man for breaking free of orthodoxy, since he felt it wasn't all it was actually cracked up to be. And I have received many kind comments from people who knew Paddy very well, and that he would be extremely pleased with our work. So in that light, we continue in the face of a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to reset the standards of normalcy, remake economies through tackling complexity of relationships between human, technical, and natural capitals. Yet tackling complexity within current structures of public and private policymakers, where for them, responsible policymaking means continuity, an unwillingness to stray from conventional wisdom, even in the face of resulting disasters, unintended consequences, and that endless treadmill of crisis after crisis. Still, the question is not asked. Is there a need for a fundamental overhaul of the policy and decision-making framework? Still not asked, so consequently, so is born the accidental delayer. Our invitation is to all those who are willing to challenge the assumption of the current policy and decision-making playbook, to challenge the unwillingness to engage in inclusive, systemic, by action rather than just word, approaches to create protection against climate and biosphere degradation and economic fragmentation that marginalizes and undervalues so many individuals and communities. As a result, elevate systemic solutions that are inclusive of justice, human rights, international sustainable development, and climate change. To move from acts of altruism to elevating those acts to being central aspects of national and international public, private, and third sector decision-making. This does not mean we do not respect the institutional knowledge of those with deep policy and organizational leadership experience. But concurrently, we must make no apology for wanting to break from the constraints of the past in pursuit of something better. For climate change and the degradation of the biosphere service levels threatens to widen inequalities between and within countries. It already does. Poorer people are typically more exposed to the effects of climate change and more vulnerable to harm as a result of them. Poorer countries and poorer people in wealthy countries are caught in the vicious cycle of an economic situation that leaves them stuck in areas exposed to extreme weather events and hinders their recovery. Conflict and violence I just got a little bit lost there, so apologies for that. Conflict and violence are expected to heighten in risk. Research shows that tweets are more hateful in the heat. Right-wing politicians exploit these issues, inflaming immigration, economic inequality, and global insecurity. Climate does not directly cause migration, conflict, or violence, but it does make them more likely. Research shows, for example, poverty and inequality are more important drivers of conflict and migration than climate change, but they are themselves amplified by complex effects from climate change. These complex interactions between environmental and economic conditions, as well as our political and social life, shows us the future is to a large extent ours to decide. Humans have become an agent of planetary change. We can determine the future of the environment. The environment will not determine ours. Yet understanding how climate change may indirectly influence politics, industry, economies, people is crucial to finding integrated policies appropriate to the complex challenges we face. But I am hopeful, for surely the world can learn that hatred and discrimination in all their forms is useless. Racism is stupid, and the will to conquer the minds and territories of other people is meaningless. We need to stop anger and divisions and find strength in solidarity. Our history has always resulted in the greater negative impact from the sum total of the choices made and the actions taken by each and every individual. It has always been up to us. So this is the time to tackle complexity through systems thinking, create a sphere economy, and let us not let it slip away. Thank you for your patience. That's what Paddy Ashdown. So I'll hand over to Mimi and look forward to this talk. Thank you.